Hello everyone, and welcome back to Go, reading Irish myths and legends, with myself, Dr. Emmett Taylor. Here, we read out-of-copyright academic translations of medieval Irish literature. No retellings or reimaginings, just the words of medieval Ireland, right to your ears. Cath Maige Tuired, the Battle of Mag Tuired, is, by my estimation, one of the most popular pieces of medieval Irish literature for modern audiences. It forms a relatively straightforward and self-contained narrative that introduces a range of characters from the mythological cycle, only a few of whom we have already encountered. The tale is a conflict between the Tuatha De Danann and the Fovra, or, more accurately, between the Tuatha De Danann and their ousted ex-king Bress, along with some Fovra kings who are backing his attempts to retake control of Ireland. This story is particularly popular and influential in the medieval tradition, with other stories making reference to this battle, the events of it, or items that are included in part of the battle. Importantly, we should keep in mind that while we call this story the Battle of Mag Tuired, it's actually the second Battle of Mag Tuired, the first of which took place between the Tuatha De Danann and a pre-existing local population, the Firbolg, whom the Tuatha De Danann conquered and colonized. To make matters even more confusing, these battles do not take place at the same location, but two different locations that bear the same name. The tale was first composed in the 9th century, but was reworked in the 11th, and survives in a single manuscript, British Library manuscript, Harley 5280. While it is almost certain that the tale was drawing on a range of earlier sources, it is distinctly a product of some very specific medieval politics, which we will discuss at length later. Today, we'll be reading the translation by Whitley Stokes, titled The Second Battle of Mag Tuired, found in Revue Celtique No. 12, published in 1891. If you are interested in a more recent translation, please consult the excellent Cath Maige Tuired, The Second Battle of Mag Tuired, by Elizabeth A. Gray, published with the Irish Text Society in 1982. I would highly caution any listener against reading other versions of this story. Popular history books for the last century have produced many versions of this tale, almost all of which are retellings, which change or alter details, intentionally or otherwise. While it is true there is often tremendous variation in literary traditions, keep in mind that there is only one manuscript of this tale, so if you find a version with entirely new scenes or sections, these are almost certainly the inventions of a modern author. You should be particularly cautious of this in terms of YouTube videos that seek to retell these stories. Several quite popular ones unfortunately miss major details or fail to understand some of the medieval politics that are influencing the story, which again we'll discuss shortly. Further, while in previous episodes I would begin to read the story at this point, I have one final issue I must bring to your attention, dear listeners. This story has several Rosk passages, spoken by a character named the Morgan. A Rosk is an exceptionally complex type of poem from medieval Ireland, ones which have multiple layers of meaning, use strange or otherwise unattested senses of words, and are, broadly speaking, some of the most challenging things to translate from medieval Irish. Our translation, and the translation by Gray, do not include these. One of these Rosk, the second one, which describes the end of the world, has been published by John Carey in his article Myth and Mythography and Cath Maige Tuired, published in volume 24 through 25 of Studia Celtica from 1989 to 1990. With that aside, let us begin. The Tuatha De Danann were in the northern isles of the world, learning lore and magic and druidism and wizardry and cunning, until they surpassed the sages of the arts of heathendom. There were 4 cities in which they were learning lore and science and diabolic arts, to wit, Falias and Gorias, Murias and Phineas. Out of Falias was brought the Storm of Fall, which was in Tara. It used to roar under every king that would take the realm of Ireland. Out of Gorias was brought the spear that Luch had. No battle was ever won against it, or him who held it in its hand. Out of Phineas was brought the sword of Nuada. When it was drawn from its deadly sheath, no one ever escaped from it, and it was irresistible. Out of Murias was brought the Dagda's cauldron. No company ever went from it unthankful. 4 wizards were there in those 4 cities. Mor Essa was in Phalias, Esras was in Gorias, Uishkias was in Phineas, Sheviesh was in Murias. Those are the 4 poets of whom the Tuatha Dé learnt lore and science. Now, the Tuatha Dé made an alliance with the Fovra, and Balor, grandson of Naid, gave his daughter Ethna to Cian, son of Gian Cait, and she brought forth the gifted child, even Luch. The Tuatha Dé came with a great fleet unto Ireland, to take it perforce from the fair Volog. They burnt their barks at once on reaching the district of Corcu Beltan, that is, in Connemara today, so that they should not think of retreating to them. And the smoke and the mist that came from the vessels filled the neighbouring land and air. Therefore it was conceived that they had arrived in clouds of mist. The first battle of Maige Tuired was fought between them and the Fir Volog, and the Fir Volog were routed, and 100,000 of them were slain, including their king, Iachith son of Each. In that battle, moreover, Nuada's hand was cut off. It was Sreng, son of Shengan, that struck it off him. So Gian Cait the leech put on him a hand of silver, with the motion of every hand, and Cresna the brazier was helping the leech. Now, the Tuatha Dé Danann lost many men in the battle, including Ezlio, son of Allah, Erinvas, and Fiachra, and Turul Becrio. But such of the Fir Volog as escaped from the battle went into flight unto the Fovra, and settled in Erin, and in Isli, and in Man and Rathlin. A contention to the sovereignty of the men of Ireland arose between the Tuatha Dé and their women, because Nuada, after his hand had been stricken off, was disqualified to be king. They said it would be fitter for them to bestow the kingdom on Bres, son of Elatha, on their own adopted son, and that giving the kingdom to him would bind the alliance of the Fovra to them, for his father, even Elatha son of Delbeath, was king of the Fovra. Now, the conception of Bres came to pass in this wise. Eri, Delbeath's daughter, a woman of the Tuatha Dé, was one day looking at the sea from the house of Maith Shkena, and she beheld the sea in perfect calm, as if it were a level board. And she was there when she saw somewhat. A vessel of silver was revealed to her on the sea. Its size she deemed great, save that its form did not appear to her, and the stream of the wave bore it on to the land. Then she saw that in it was a man of fairest form. Golden yellow hair was on him, as far as his 2 shoulders. A mantle with bands of golden thread was around him. His shirt had trimmings of golden thread. On his breast was a brooch of gold, with the sheen of a precious stone therein. 2 white silvern spears, and in them 2 smooth riveted shafts of bronze. 5 circlets of gold on his neck. A golden hilted sword with inlayings of silver and studs of gold. The man said to her, "Is this the time that our lying with thee will be easy?" "I have not made a tryst with thee, verily," said the woman. "Come against the trysting," said he. Then they stretched themselves down together. Now the woman wept when the man would rise. "Why weepest thou?" saith he. "I have 2 things for which I should lament," saith the woman. "Severing from thee, however, we have met. The fair youths of the Tuatha Dé Danann, they have been entreating me in vain, and my desire is for thee, as thou hast possessed me. Thy anxiety shall be taken away from these 2 things, saith he. He draws his golden ring from his middle finger, and put it into her hand, and told her that she should not part with it, by sale or by gift, save to one whose finger it should fit. I have another sorrow, saith the woman. I know not who hath come to me. Thou shalt not be ignorant of that, saith he. Elatha, son of Delbeath, king of the Fovra, hath come to thee. And of our meeting thou shalt bear a boy, and no name shall be given to him, save Iachith Bres, that is, Yochid the Beautiful. For every beautiful thing that is seen in Ireland, whether plain or fortress or ale or torch or woman or man or steed, will be compared to that boy, so that men will say of it then, it is a Bress. After that, the man went back again by the way he had come, and the woman fared to her house, and unto her was given the famous conception. Then she brought forth the boy, and he was named as Alatha had said, even Yochid Bress. When a week after the woman's lying in was complete, the boy had a fortnight's growth. He maintained that increase till the end of his first 7 years, when he reached the growth of 14 years. Because of that conquest which took place among the Tuatha Dé, the sovereignty of Ireland was given to that boy, and he gave 7 hostages to Ireland's champions, that is, to her chiefs, for restoring the sovereignty if his own misdeeds should give so cause. His mother afterwards bestowed land upon him, and on the land he had a fortress built, even Don Brescia, and it was the Dagda that built that fortress. Now, when Bress had assumed the kingship, Fuvra, even Indech, son of de Domnan, and Alatha, son of Delbeath, and Tethra, 3 Fuvra kings, bound their tribute upon Ireland, so that there was not a smoke from a roof in Ireland that was not under tribute to them. The champions were also reduced to his service. To wit, Ogma had to carry a bundle of firewood, and the Dagda was a rath builder, wherefore he, the Dagda, trenched Rath Brescia. So, the Dagda was weary at the work, and he used to meet in the house of an idle blind man named Crithenvale, whose mouth was out of his breast. Crithenvale thought his own ration small, and the Dagda's large, whereupon he said, O Dagda, of thy honour, let the 3 best bits of thy ration be given to me. So the Dagda used to give them to him every night. Large, however, was the lampooner's bits, the size of a good pig. This was the bit. But those 3 bits were the 3rd of the Dagda's ration. The Dagda's health was worse of that. One day, then, as the Dagda was in the trench, he saw the Mac Och coming to him. That is good, O Dagda, said the Mac Och. Even so, says the Dagda. What makes thee look so ill, says the Mac Och. I have cause for it, says the Dagda. Every evening, Crithenvale the lampooner demands the 3 best bits of my portion. I have counsel for thee, says the Mac Och. He puts his hand into his pouch, and takes there out 3 crowns of gold, and gives them to him. Put, says the Mac Och, these 3 crowns into the 3 best bits, which thou givest at the close of a day to Crithenvale. These bits will then be the goodliest on thy dish, and the gold will turn in his belly, so that he will die thereof, and the judgment of Bress thereupon will be wrong. Men will say to the king, the Dagda has killed Crithenvale by means of a deadly herb, which he gave him. Then the king will order thee to be slain, but thou shalt say to him, what thou utterest, O king of the warriors of the Fena, is not a prince's truth. For I was watched by Crithenvale when I was at my work, and he used to say to me, give me, O Dagda, the 3 best bits of thy portion. Bad is my housekeeping tonight. So I should have perished thereby, had not the 3 shillings which I found today helped me. I put them on my ration. I then gave it to Crithenvale, for the gold is the best thing that was before me. Hence, then, the gold is inside Crithenvale, and he died of it. It is clear, says the king. Let the lampooner's belly be cut open, to know if the gold be found therein. If it is not found, thou shalt die. If, however, it be found, thou shalt have life. After that, they cut off the lampooner's belly, and the 3 crowns of gold were found in his stomach, and so the Dagda was saved. Then the Dagda went to his work on the following morning, and to him came the Mac Och, and said, Thou wilt soon finish thy work, and thou shalt not seek reward till the cattle of Ireland are brought to thee, and of them choose a heifer, black-maned, black... Translation cuts. Thereafter, the Dagda brought his work to an end, and Bress asked him what he would take in guerdon of his labour. The Dagda answered, I charge thee, saith he, to gather the cattle of Ireland into one place. The king did this as the Dagda said, and the Dagda chose of them the heifer, which the Mac had told him to choose. That seemed weakness unto Bress. He thought the Dagda would have chosen somewhat more. Now, Nuada was in his sickness, and Dian Caith put on him a hand of silver with the motion of every hand therein. That seemed evil to his son Miach. He went to the hand which had been struck off, and he said, Joint to joint of it, sinew to sinew, and he healed Nuada in thrice 3 days and nights. The first 72 hours he put it over against his side, and it became covered with skin. The second 72 hours he put it on his breasts. The third 72 hours he would cast white, translation cuts, of black bulrushes when they were blackened in fire. That cure seemed evil to Dian Caith. He flung a sword at the crown of his son's head, and cut the skin down to the flesh. The lad healed the wound by means of his skill. Dian Caith smote him again, and cut the flesh till he reached the bone. The lad healed this by the same means. He struck him the third blow, and came to the membrane of his brain. The lad healed this also by the same means. Then he struck the fourth blow, and cut out his brain, so that Miach died, and Dian Caith said that the leech himself could not heal him of that blow. Thereafter, Miach was buried by Dian Caith, and herbs 365, according to the number of his joints and sinews, grew through the grave. Then Eirved opened her mantle, and separated those herbs according to their properties. But Dian Caith came to her, and he confused the herbs, so that no one knows their proper cures, unless the Holy Spirit should teach them afterwards. And Dian Caith said, If Miach be not, Eirved shall remain. So, Bress held the sovereignty as it had been conferred upon him. But the chiefs of the Tuatha Dé murmured greatly against him, for their knives were not greased by him, and however often they visited him, their breaths did not smell of ale. Moreover, they saw not their poets, or their bards, or their lampooners, or their harpers, or their pipers, or their hornblowers, or their jugglers, or their fools, amusing them in the household. They did not go to the contests of their athletes. They saw not their champions, proving their prowess at the kings, save only one man, Ogma son Vaidin. This was the duty which he had, to bring fuel to the fortress. He used to carry a bundle every day from the Clew Bay Islands. And because he was weak from want of food, the sea would sweep away from him 2/3 of his bundle. So he could only carry 1/3, and yet he had to supply the host from day to day. Neither service nor weregild from the tribes continued, and the treasures of the tribe were not delivered by the act of the whole tribe. Once upon a time the poet came a-guesting to Bress's house, even Caebra, son of Aideen, poet of the Tuatha Dé. He entered a cabin, narrow, black, dark, wherein there was neither fire nor furniture nor bed. 3 small cakes, and they dry, were brought to him on a little dish. On the morrow he arose, and he was not thankful. As he went across the garth, he said, Without food quickly on a dish, without a cow's milk whereupon a calf grows, without a man's abode under the gloom of night, without paying a company of storytellers, let that be Bress's condition. So there is no avian in Bress, saith he. Now that was true. Naught save decay was on him from that hour. That is the first satire that was made in Ireland. Now, after that, the Tuatha Dé went together to have a speech with their foster son, Bress, son of Olatha, and demanded of him their surtries. He gave them restitution of the realm, and he was not well pleased with them for that. He begged to be allowed to remain until the end of 7 years. Thou shalt have this, says the assembly together, but thou shalt come on the same security. translation cuts, every fruit, translation cuts, to thy hand, both house and land and gold and silver, kine and food, and freedom from rent and weregild until then. Ye shall have, says Bress, as ye say. This is why they were asked for the delay, that he might gather the champions of the Fairy Mound, even the Fovra, to seize the tribes perforce, provided that, translation cuts. Grievous to him seemed his expulsion from his kingdom. Then he went to his mother, and asks her whence was his race. I am certain of that, saith she. And she went on to the hill, whence she had seen the vessel of silver in the sea. She then went on to the strand, and his mother gave him the ring which had been left with her for him, and he put it round his middle finger, and it fitted him. For sake of no one had she delivered it, either by sale or gift, until that day there was none of them whom it suited. Then they went forward, till they reached the land of the Fovra. They came to a great plain, with many assemblies therein. They advanced to the fairest of these assemblies. Tidings were demanded from them therein. They replied that they were of the men of Ireland. They were then asked whether they had hounds, for at that time it was the custom, when a body of men went to another assembly, to challenge them to a friendly contest. We have hounds, saith Bress. Then the hounds had a coursing match, and the hounds of the Tuatha Dé were swifter than the hounds of the Fovra. Then they were asked whether they had steeds for a horse race. They answered, We have, and their steeds were swifter than the steeds of the Fovra. They were then asked whether they had anyone who was good at sword play. None was found save Bress alone, so when he sets his hand to the sword, his father recognizes the ring on his finger, and inquires who was the hero. His mother answered on his behalf, and told the king that Bress was a son of his. Then she related to him the whole story, even as we have recounted it. His father was sorrowful at him. Said the father, What need has brought thee out of the land wherein thou rulest? Bress replied, Nothing has brought me, save my own injustice and arrogance. I stripped them of their jewels and treasures and their own food. Neither tribute nor weregild was taken from them till today. That is bad, says the father. Better were their prosperity than their kingship, better their prayers than their curses. Why hast thou come hither? Says his father. I have come to ask you for champions, saith he. I would take that land perforce. Thou shouldest not gain it by injustice, if thou gain it not by justice, said the father. Query then, what counsel hast thou for me? Says Bress. Thereafter he sent him to the champion, to Balor, grandson of Nade, the king of the Isles, and to Indech, son of Deadomnan, the king of the Fovra. And these assembled all the forces from Lochlin westwards unto Ireland, to impose their tribute and rule perforce on the Tuatha Dé, so that they made one bridge of vessels from the foreigners' isles to Erin. Never came to Ireland a host more horrible or fearful than the host of the Fovra. The man from Scythia of Lochlin and the man out of the Western Isles were rivals in that expedition. Now, as to the Tuatha Dé, this is what is here dealt with. After Bress, Nuatha was again in sovereignty over the Tuatha Dé. At that time he held for the Tuatha Dé a mighty feast at Tara. Now there was a certain warrior on his way to Tara, whose name was Sabaldánach. And there were two doorkeepers at Tara, namely Gaval son of Figal and Caval son of Riagal. When one of these was there, he sees a strange company coming towards him. A young warrior, fair and shapely, with a king's trappings, was in the forefront of that band. They told the doorkeeper to announce their arrival at Tara. The doorkeeper asked, Who is there? Here is Luch Lonan Shclech, son of Cian, son of Dianchet, and Ethna, daughter of Balor. Foster son he of Tolan, daughter of Mag Tuired, king of Spain, and of Echid the Rough, son of Duach. The doorkeeper asked of Samaldonach, "What art dost thou practice?" saith he, "for no one without an art enters Tara." "Question me," saith he. "I am a right." The doorkeeper answered, "We need thee not, we have a right already, even Luchta, son of Lochaeth." He said, "Question me, O doorkeeper, I am a smith." The doorkeeper answered him, "We have a smith already, even Colum Quilenach, of the 3 new processes." He said, "Question me, I am a champion." The doorkeeper answered, "We need thee not, we have a champion already, even Ogma, son of Ethlon." He said again, "Question me," saith he, "I am a harper." "We need thee not, we have a harper already, even Avkan, son of Beachelmos, whom the men of the 3 gods chose in the fairy hills." He said, "Question me, I am a hero." The doorkeeper answered, "We need thee not, we have a hero already, even Bresel Etherlov, son of Yochith Beithlov." Then he said, "Question me, O doorkeeper, I am a poet and I am a historian." "We need thee not, we have a poet and a historian, even En, son of Ethelvan." He said, "Question me," says he, "I am a sorcerer." "We need thee not, we have sorcerers already, many are our wizards and our folk of might." He said, "Question me, I am a leech." "We need thee not, we have for a leech thee and Cath." "Question me," said he, "I am a cupbearer." "We need thee not, we have cupbearers already, even Delt and Drucht and Daitha and Tai and Tullov and Trog, Glay and Glon and Glacia." He said, "Question me, I am a good brazier." "We need thee not, we have a brazier already, Kresna Caird." He said again, "Ask the king," saith he, "whether he has a single man who possesses all these arts, and if he has, I will not enter Tara." Then the doorkeeper went into the palace and declared all to the king. "A warrior has come before the garth," saith he. "His name is Savaldonach, and all the arts which thy household practice he alone possesses, so that he is a man of every art." This he, the king, said then, that the chessboards of Tara should be fetched to him, Savaldonach, and he won all the stakes, so that he made the crow of Luch. But if chess was invented at the epoch of the Trojan War, it had not reached Ireland then, for the Battle of Mag Tuired and the destruction of Troy occurred at the same time. Then that was related to Nuada. "Let him into the garth," says Nuada, "for never before has a man like him entered this fortress." Then the doorkeeper lets Luch past him, and he entered the fortress, and sat down in the sage's seat, for he was a sage in every art. Then the great flagstone to move which required the effort of 80 yoke of oxen, Ogma hurled through the house, so that it lay outside of Tara. This was a challenge to Luch, but Luch cast it back, so that it lay in the centre of the palace, and he put the piece which it had carried away into the side of the palace, and made it whole. "Let a harp be played for us," says the host. So the warrior played a sleep strain for the hosts and for the king the first night. He cast them into sleep from that hour to the same time on the following day. He played a wail strain, so that they were crying and lamenting. He played a smile strain, so that they were in merriment and joyance. Now Nuada, when he beheld the warrior's many powers, considered whether he, Savaldonach, could put away from them the bondage which they suffered from the Fovra. So they held a council concerning the warrior. This is the decision to which Nuada came, to change seats with the warrior. So Savaldonach went to the king's seat, and the king rose up before him till 13 days had ended. Then on the morrow he met with the 2 brothers, even Dagda and Ogma, on Gelrach Duluth, and his brothers Goivnu and Cath were summoned to them. A full year were they in that secret converse, wherefore Gelrach Duluth is called Amrun of the men of the goddess. And with that, we're going to take a break in reading Cath Maige Tuired. We'll be getting back to it next Monday, and you'll also have the second component of the episode where we go over interesting secondary scholarship on the topic. If I were to combine this episode with the following one and the commentary, it would become quite long, which I'm trying to avoid. So, for now, I hope you've enjoyed this first portion of Cath Maige Tuired, and you've had fun today learning here with Go. If you have any questions or suggestions for Go, please feel free to contact me at irishlegendspodcast@gmail.com. Until next time.